Organic chemistry. I'm gonna start with the title. Organic chemistry, my favorite category. Biogenetic engineering, chemical engineering, quantum engineering, the art of war. L. Pretty much it in physical fitness that deals with every form of combat and exercise. Those are my five favorite things. In terms of knowledge of physical fitness. In terms of they're actually that and medical, but no. But it's part of physical fitness along with survival and stuff. Organic chemistry. Atoms are the electrons in atoms and molecules in polymer. Oh, I don't know what to say now. Atoms and molecules are. Crap, I don't know what's. Atoms and molecules are holding together by two formal bindings. Both these bonds have their own categories or type of bindings. One, there's the covalent bonds. That means ions. We all know what ions is. Ion is when a cell receive or lose an electron for whatever reason and go into an isotope stage will begin a loss of protons. You should know this from last time. But an ion is a gain or loss of electron. It means it will have a negative charge or a positive charge. If it gain an electron, it's a negative charge. If it lose an electron, it becomes a positive charge ion means ion plus or ion negative. I'm gonna change the terminology once y'all wipe yourself out. Since I want to commit suicide, I help. But a covalent bond is when a ion between two different atoms or the same atoms, uh, they really don't lose it. They share the electrons with each other. Same thing with molecules, they share each other's stuff. I don't want your stuff, you don't want my stuff, we just share it. Congratulations. So pretty much between a 0 or 1 is a covalent bonding. The next section of covalent bonding is purely bonding, which means that it is between a 0 1 or 0 1. Yeah, 0 1 or 2. That's hard to say because purely bonding is mean they swap electrons. One might have one more than the other one, or two more than the other one, which is just 2 1. It is considered a section of covalent bonding where it's not too much, it's not too picky. That's due to the violence. Violence are the electric freaking ionic shell around the atoms, which where all the electrons are. Most all electrons want that outer shell filled with negative energy. So basically, I want to be lazy as possible. That's all atoms want to do. They don't want to do anything. That's the main reason why they take electrons. The goal is for all atoms on an outer electron shell to fill with an electron, or to fill with negative energy, or negative charge and stuff. That's why they take ions, or take electron. That's why certain atoms will go well, or certain elements, or etc., will go well with someone, but whatever. Ionic bonding is when you gain +2. It's basically mean that I want all your electrons. Come out your pocket with that. It's more than two electrons coming over, like sodium chloride. Sodium will lose a electron, so it's -1 to the chloride, +2 or 3 or 4, depending on what you're doing. And it's the same thing with freaking sulfur phosphate and stuff like that. And then under ion bonding is polar covalent bonding. Yes, I know it's called covalent, but according to your terminology, L, it is a range of 1 and 3, but as I say, it's freaking 2 to 4, whatever. Y'all book up terminology and stuff. Now, once the ion is taken from it, they get either a positive charge or a negative charge. There are so many stupid terms because when I did welding, there was cathode and anode, and when I did sheet metal fabricating, there was cathode and anode. And I went to school 2 years ago for underground storage tank because when I moved into my house, I had to make my own fuel and stuff and car fuel. I used to do it when I stayed in New York and stuff, but in New York, you don't need a storage tank certification if it's your property. But whatever. And so I took on underground storage tank class. It's basically when you go to a gas station and you pick up fuel, that's a storage tank. So in it class that says the pump that holds the fuel in the power charge. It's not called cation anode. It is called corticoid and anoroid or something, whatever. And in organic chemistry is called cation and anion, whatever. Cation is a positive charged ion and anion is a negative charged ion. So basically ionic negative or ionic positive, same thing. Congratulations. Cation, positive charge. Anion, negative charge. And hopefully next week I'll be able to make a practical application with this. For organic chemistry, pretty hard. I don't have my syringe needles or scopes and stuff like that, ballast octate. You all know what octate is the shape of an electron fulfilled by itself, where valence being the like of an atom. It's pretty hard to say because you can change the valence has many terms, but whatever. Basically, you want the electron shell get the atom and the electron cloud furthest out of the shell to have the highest level of electrons. Some electrons are P, basically. That's ballast octate. I want all of it, or do I? Um, Two hydrogens are purely covalent or close to covalent bonding, while water is polar. No, it's not a polar or purely, but it's still on a covalent bonding. While freaking trying to think of something. Phosphorus and potassium are purely ionic. Yeah, not even proof when you eat food. That stuff is mixed in there. It's not even whatever. We never got that. Now, most organic material have covalent bonding. Your cells, your body, trees and stuff. There are in there are ionic bonds in your body as an exchange of food when you take in and when you eat. Your enzyme will break down and begin an ion bonding process, but it's going way ahead of time. And ion bonding as a final stage, as in a final material like dirt, you and me and stuff. That's mostly non-inorganic. Ion bonders are mostly non-inorganic and non-carbon based material. You all know this planet base is nitrogen, carbon, and phosphorus, and as a buildup, which is the same thing for plants and food and water and dirty stuff. And then there's oxygen, potassium, salt. I can give you all the elements what human made of, so you know, fake ones. So that's pretty much it. I'm just gonna give a rundown, give you examples. There's not really practical applications you could do this other than getting pure sodium and chloride and putting them together in a well ventilated environment and run electrolysis on them. But it's hard to say because you would create salt, but you could also create bleach, which is other stuff. But like I said, and there's no way you can look at atoms themselves. These atoms are you need a actually I don't think they have anything to look at in atoms themselves. Just come up with some bullcrap. Usually they use a spectrogram or diode. It's like spectrogram see sounds, right? Radiogram see radio wave frequencies, and electrogram and all that stuff, and they put all this stuff together, but they did not put it together. They basically started. It's like Tesla versus Nikola Tesla. So whatever. COVID bunnies. We like each other. Let's share. COVID bunnies. Purely COVID. 0 to 1 atoms. 0 to 1 electrons or 2 electrons. Actually, 0 to 1 electrons. Ionic bunnies. I want all the electrons. Calcium. Positive charge ion, and negative charge ion, valence octane, electronegativity. I want all your stuff. Most non-organic is ion binding, except for non-carbon based. Actually, depending if you go to different planet, Organics are mostly covalent. Congrats.